Cross, and it's been a pretty heavy series. 2 weeks ago, we talked about this whole idea that Jesus looked at a group of Jews and said, if you want to follow me, pick up your cross daily and carry me. And we talked about how just crazy, terrifying that would have been. For Jews to pick up a cross would have meant for them to go to the craziest, most torturous death that they could ever imagine. And we talked about how there are parts of our lives, because we are sinners and because we have made mistakes and because of the culture that we live in, there are parts of our lives that, if we're honest, we need to pick up our cross and we need to put those parts of our lives to death. And I encouraged you 2 weeks ago to really do some inward soul searching and ask yourself, is there anything in my life that I got to get rid of it? It's not easy. It's terrifying. And it will feel like a part of you is dying. But I encouraged you to go and talk to a trusted adult and say, hey, here's what's going on. And then last week, we looked at this idea that there is life found in the midst of death. That when we can be honest with ourselves and with a trusted adult that can help us walk through this, that we can walk through some things that are terrifying and difficult and feel like our life is ending because we are putting a part of us to death. But on the other side of that, there is this incredible life. And Jesus said, when you pick up your cross and follow me, those that want to save their lives will lose them, and those that lose their lives for my sake will actually save them. And this week, I want to talk about what life with Jesus looks like. A lot of times as ministers and youth ministers, we kind of gloss over different aspects of what a life with Jesus Christ looks like. But tonight, I just want to go over the whole deal. What does a life with Christ look like? Because the truth is that a life with Christ is the best possible life that we could ever live on this earth. It doesn't mean that our life is always going to be easy. It doesn't mean that we're not going to face difficult times. It doesn't mean that stuff is not going to go wrong and we're not going to make mistakes. What it does mean is that Jesus is going to be with us through all of that. And that we can know that if we are following Christ, even if it means going through some difficult things, that it is the best possible life that we can live. You know, in the Bible, a life with Christ is often referred to as a race. In the book of Hebrews, it says this. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith. This life is a race. It's a marathon. Last week, I told you guys about my short-lived soccer career in high school. This week, I am going to tell you guys about my even shorter-lived swimming career. As you can tell, I was very, very athletic in high school. So I was a swimmer in the second half of middle school and my freshman year of high school, right? That's it. After my freshman year, I was done. But I was a swimmer, 7th and 8th grade, and then as a freshman. And here's the truth. Every race has a start. We get that, right? We get that in cross country or track. We get that in swimming or in any other race. We get that. But there's something that seems to disconnect when we think about a start with Jesus Christ. Some of you are in this position right now. You are at the start where you are just kind of trying to start to figure out who Jesus is. You're just trying to figure out, is this really something that I believe in? And some of you, you've been coming to church for years and you're still there. You're still at the start thinking, all right, is this something I really buy into? And some of you, you've been invited by friends and you've been coming for a little bit and you're just trying to figure out, all right, I'm enjoying being here with friends. Is this something I buy into? Every race has a start, but with Christianity, we tend to think that we have to start at the end. When I was a swimmer, I used to love, one of my favorite times of practice was practicing the start of the race, right? You'd climb up on the swimming blocks, the little teeny tiny squares that look like miniature diving boards at a pool, right? And you'd get down and you'd set your feet about like this, and you'd grip the bottom of the swimming block, right? And then you'd wait for the little horn, buzzer, weird, awkward swimming thingy to go off, right? And then you'd jump in the water, right? But here's why I loved practicing starts. Because, one, I loved diving into the water, as long as you didn't dive too deep and, hurt your head. So you had to do a shallow dive. But if you were a really, really, really good person off the starting blocks, what you would do is you would jump out. But as you're jumping out, it's like you would do this little dolphin kick thing, right? Seriously, it looked like that. It looked like guys would go, right, as they were going out. And they would try to flip their bodies up in the air a little bit further. Because if you could get further through the air and then hit the water, you would be ahead of everybody else who hit the water and then tried to catch up while swimming, right? And so I would always get to the starting blocks and I would jump and flip and try to hit the water, right? It was so much fun. I was horrible at it, but it was so much fun, right? And we get that in swimming or in track or in cross country, when you jump off the starting block, when you jump past the starting line, you're at the start. But for some reason, when we get to Christianity, we think, all right, when I jump off the start with Jesus, this isn't just a start. I got to have all my stuff together. When I jump off the start with Jesus, I can't make any more mistakes. I can't struggle with anything. I have to know everything there is to know about God and the Bible. I have to be the perfect Christian. And Jesus never says that. Jesus never communicates that. Matter of fact, when we look at Jesus in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, he sits with people that are struggling and people that are hurting and people that are broken. And he doesn't say to them, all right, you fix what's wrong with you and then you come to me. He says, I love you. Come on. Let's do this together. Just come follow me. Just be one of my followers. And together, as we go throughout this race, we will improve. And he says that to us today. He says, we are just starting this thing together. Guys, I can tell you that I was baptized when I was 9 years old. And I am so much further along now than when I started my relationship with Jesus Christ. And that's the way that it should be. I'm so much further along now at age 36 than I was at age 26. I'm so much further along now than I was 5 years ago. And we get that in races. We're running the course and we realize, all right, I'm further along now than I was all the way back at the starting line. It's the same thing with Christianity. We grow and we improve and we get better. And so I want to encourage you, if you are here tonight and you are just at the start and you're trying to figure this stuff out, know this. You don't have to have it all figured out to follow Jesus. You just have to be honest and say, this life with Jesus, that's something that I want. Every race has a start. Every race also has a middle. It has ups and downs. I've been talking to some of the cross-country runners throughout the fall and hearing about their races and how some of the races are hilly, and they've had some races, not so much this year, but in past years that have just been crazy muddy, and it's just been a mess, and it's been difficult. Every race has a middle where there are ups and downs and twists and turns and difficult parts to the race. When I was a swimmer, I typically did a race called the 500-yard freestyle. Anybody have any idea what that means? Some of you. Okay, just like Shane. That's cool that you know what that means. All right, so if you're at the end of a pool, right, 500-yard freestyle means you go all the way from one end to the other, and that's 50 yards. And then you do like this crazy little flip turn, and then you go all the way to the other, and that's 100 yards, right? And then you go back, and that's 150 and 200 and 250 and so on and so forth, right? So I'm swimming the 500-yard race, right? And I'm swimming, and I had this system when I was a swimmer. I would go, this will be 50. Take a breath. This will be 50. Take a breath, right? And I did that all the way down, all the way back. This will be 100. This will be 150. This will be 200. This will be 250. Well, for some reason, in the midst of this race that I had going on, I was going down, and I don't know if I started to daydream, like it got to be a long race, but I was like, this will be, oh man, is this 250 or 350? Oh. And so like I keep swimming, and I'm like, all right. So I went down and back and down and back and down and back. I think it's 350. All right, and so I'm like, this will be 350. And I finished my 350 and 400 and 450. And I'm going back, and I'm like, all right, this is going to be 500, and I'm going to touch the wall and be finished. And I touched the wall, and I stood up, and there's this lady at the end of the row that's like keeping track of all the timers, and she's going, keep going. You have one more lap. Keep going. And I'm like, oh, dang it. And so I turn around and I keep super duper embarrassing. But see, that's the thing about races. And I love that in Hebrews, Paul compares this life to a race. Because in a race, we are going to have setbacks. In a race, we are going to have parts of our lives that don't always go right. We are going to have some things that are really, really difficult. And that's where this whole idea comes in that we talked about the last couple weeks. This is kind of where we've been focusing the last couple weeks, kind of this middle of the race, where it says, Jesus says, pick up your cross in Luke chapter 9. Come on, pick up your cross and carry me. There's going to be times that are difficult. There's going to be times that are difficult because of things that we can't control. People around us are going to be sick. People around us are going to be hateful and horrible. People around us are going to hurt us. And we are going to have setbacks. And in the midst of those setbacks, Jesus looks at you and says, I love you. Come on. This is a difficult time. Pick up your cross and come follow me. I want to be here with you through this difficult time. He looks at you and he says, this feels horrible. I felt that. I'm here with you in the midst of it. And Jesus isn't one of those guys that comes alongside and is like, just get over it. He sits there with you and he helps you and he strengthens you and he encourages you. And there are some things in our life that go difficult because they're decisions we make. We mess up. And at that point, Jesus says, pick up your cross and come carry me. Let's root this out. This is what we've been talking about, putting things to death. And Jesus says, I'm with you. There's nothing that you can do that will separate you from me. There's nothing that you can do that will cancel my love for you. Pick up your cross and let's do this together. The thing about swimming that was just maddening to me, I don't know if you guys recognize this or not, but I'm a pretty social person. I like to be with people. I like to hang out with people. People give me energy, right? And so the thing about swimming is you're swimming and it's just slosh, 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 right? And you got just water in your eyes. It's like a black line on the bottom of a pool. I've not seen that for the last hour. Interesting, right? And you're just slosh, 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 slosh. I think I'll take a breath. Slosh, 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 right? And the thing about swimming a race is that in the midst of the water surrounding your eyes and looking down at nothing but a black line and water just sloshing inside your ears, you feel all alone. And in life, in the middle of ups and downs and twists and turns, in the middle of this relationship with Christ, it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be this just glamorous life of awesomeness. There are times where we feel very, very alone. But the crazy thing about swimming is that if I were to stop the sloshing, I would hear people in the stands cheering. And every once in a while, on a flip turn, when the swimmers do this like flip, and then they start back over and turn around, there are people standing at the end of the lane saying, go, go, go. And you get just brief glimpses of that. And oftentimes, in the difficult times in life, that's what a relationship with Christ is like. We feel alone, but there is God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit and the angels that are just cheering us on. And every once in a while, we get this brief moment of a glimpse of them saying, keep going, you're doing great, keep running the race. I know it's hard. I know there are ups and downs and difficult times. Just keep running the race. And in those moments in the middle, when you are doing absolutely amazing and you are feeling on the top of the world, they are all still there cheering for you at your highest moments and at your lowest moments. You see, a relationship with Jesus, a life with Jesus, is just like a race. We start. And we're not perfect, and we don't start at the end where we know everything. We start right at the beginning. We start right where we are, and as we walk through the race, there are going to be ups, and there are going to be downs, and there are going to be times where we feel absolutely incredible and right there next to God, and there are going to be times where we feel utterly alone. And Jesus says, I love you. I'm with you. Always, no matter what. And every race has an end. And for us, our lives are lived at the start and at the middle of the race. We are at the start or the middle of our race. But eventually, our lives are going to be over and our race is going to end. And I love what Paul writes to Timothy in 2 Timothy. He says this in 2 Timothy 4, "For I am already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure has come. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." Paul, in writing this to Timothy, he's writing to a very good friend that he has done a lot of ministry with. And he's writing this from a prison cell, and he knows he is going to be killed. He knows that he is not going to escape this prison. And I love the words that he writes. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. I hope that at the end of my life, I will be able to look back over the years that I have lived. And I hope that at the end of your life, you will be able to look back over the years that you've lived and you will see this incredible race that you have run, where you started off, and looking back from where you are at the end of your life, you're like, dude, I had no idea what I was doing. And you ran this race full of ups and downs, and you made it to the end, and you can look at your life and you can say, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now, I have to say this because I'm guessing that in a room this size, there is at least someone in here that says, that's me. My guess is that in a room this size, there is someone in here that is having thoughts that says, my life is over. If that's you, know this. You're still in the prime of your race. If that's you, if you are struggling with thoughts of self-harm, if you are struggling with thoughts of suicide, please, please, please come talk to me. Please, please get the help that you need. Because this, for everyone sitting in this room, unless something tragic happens, this shouldn't happen for years and years and years. So if that's you, I just want to say it. I'm here. I'm not judging. I'm open. And I'm willing to get you help. I told you guys that I went through a season of depression, and man, that was one of the hardest things of my life. And there were moments where I felt very, very, very much alone. And I can tell you that going through a season of life like that, while maybe not being quite to this extent, I can tell you that going through a season of life like that, there is hope on the other side that is so much greater and so much better. You are still in the prime of your race. Please come talk to me. Every race has a start, every race has a middle, and every race has a finish line, has an end. So the big question tonight is, where do you fall in the midst of your relationship with Jesus? Where do you fall? Maybe for some of you tonight, you fall right there at the start and you are trying to figure this thing out and you're trying to see if this is something you believe in. I want to encourage you tonight. Your practical challenge this week is to just be honest with yourself and say, I don't have to have it all figured out. I can just say, yeah, this is something that I want. And Jesus can help me walk the rest of the race. If that's you tonight, then I want to encourage you to come talk to me. Come talk to me about how to start that relationship with Christ. Some of you tonight, you're right there in the middle of the race, and you're going through ups and downs, and you're going through some great times and some difficult times. And the practical challenge for you this week is to simply read Hebrews chapter 12. Continue racing. And if you're going through one of those difficult times, talk to a trusted adult that can help you walk through it. You see, Jesus puts people in our lives to help us walk through the difficult times, to grab our shoulders and allow us to lean on them in those times so that we can walk together hand in hand. And through those people that are Jesus followers, we make it through these difficult times. And Jesus and his followers help us through those. And so if that's you, please come talk to a trusted adult or talk to me. And if you're one of those people that you're struggling and thinking you're at the end of your race, don't leave here tonight without talking to me, please. Because I want to help you see what the rest of your life can look like. The truth is that no matter what we go through in our race, there is absolutely nothing that we can do that Jesus says, you're done, you're out. I was not a great swimmer in high school. I was horrible. But every meet, the coach would say, CJ, you are racing in this race. Every meet, you're racing right here. And Jesus looks at you no matter what you've done, no matter what you've been through, no matter who you are or no matter who you've been. Jesus looks at you and he says, you're in the race. Come on, let's go. Let's do this together. I need you. I want you. I care about you. You're valuable. You are in the race. Let's go. He calls us to finish the race. And we are right in the prime. And Jesus is using you guys in absolutely incredible ways. I had a student approach me not too long ago, and they said, I want to do some kingdom work. And they said, I want to do a video. I think a video element would be a really cool part of Worship Uncoiled. And so they said, I want it to be just one word that kind of describes what you've been talking about. And this student came and they said, I'm thinking about calling it one-word text. And so they created this video that is just one word that describes what we've been talking about. And we're going to start playing this video for when I'm done talking, right before the band comes up. The band can come up while this video is playing, actually. And it's simply called one-word text. And they came to me and they said, you know what? I think that if there was one word to describe what we'd been talking about, it would be the word brave. Because in order to run a race with Jesus Christ, it takes some bravery. It takes some courage. It takes some courage to get started when you don't know anything, don't know everything. It takes some courage to go through the ups and encourage people around you. It takes some bravery to go through the downs and the difficult time and to root some stuff out of your life and to fight through some times where things are not going exactly like you thought they would. It takes some bravery to finish strong. And so with that, I give you one word text.
Brave. Is it easy? People are brave in many ways, whether they're major, minor, decisions, or actions. Being brave doesn't mean you have to be strong or invincible. It means being able to take on troubles that come your way.